Welcome to Treya Tarot. This is the collective reading from Monday, July 8th, 2024. Thank you for joining me here today. If you resonate with my style, my readings, please like and share and comment. It helps the channel, and I would love to hear from everyone. So today I'm going to use the Ethereal Visions Tarot for our main, and I'm going to clarify with Morgan-Greer, which will also include reversals. There's something going on this week astrologically about relationships and processing in relationships. So I'm pulling mainly on that. Okay. All right, Knight of Wands. King of Swords. Okay, right off the bat, I can say that there's probably some of us out there who will be ending a particular type of cycle with a particular type of person. Anyone who comes in really focused on what they want, or really focused on getting what they want is, I guess, more specific, but isn't really available for actual intimacy or commitment. We're probably getting rid of those particular type of connections this week. So any experience or person in your life that has repeatedly come back or come in and out of your life that doesn't seem to show up with, any real substance, but continually comes in and out, kind of like a, how do I say this? As someone who promises something but doesn't see it through, things like that. That Knight of Wands is very, I've said this before, fly-by-night energy. So it's someone who comes in, promises too much, or, comes in, with way too much attentive desire, things like that, and then doesn't see through the actual relational part of the experience. That's ending. Justice, the Sun. There's a truth here that comes out this week, most likely having to do with the way we relate to our relationships. I see this as something of kind of like drawing a line in the sand between the way we used to operate as a caretaker or caregiver and a way we want to be received and loved in relationships. Justice is finding balance for me in my mind in this spread. It's almost as though we've had enough. We've had enough of, that kind of swept up into the romance experience because it doesn't seem to bring us through to the type of relationships we actually want to have. Now, I do see how this could apply to non-romantic relationships as well. If you have people or experiences in your life where, specifically in relationships, where it just never seems to come through or develop into anything, or show up and take any kind of root in your actual life, but it's always around. This is one of those types of relationships that I see being let go over this next week or so. Eight of Swords. Okay, the Eight of Swords with that being bound by self experience. So let me see if I can put this into words well. This feels very much to me like the type of energy of a person who's had a particular pattern with selfish and or narcissistic relational partners, and they've kind of gotten settled, and maybe in an effort to end this pattern, they've kind of isolated themselves a little bit or become too self-protective, that Nine of Wands. But it's time to open back up. The thing is, it's funny because somebody else said that recently too. I think I was watching an astrology video where they talked about putting an end to certain patterns and then opening back up afterwards because, we've learned our lessons. That's clearly stated here in these cards. It's really having had enough, balancing everything out, making sure that you know where your boundaries are, holding the truth into the light, Like for me personally, this feels like somebody finally standing in that truth of, I deserve to be loved. I don't need to put up with, people who come in with, unstable intentions. That's what this says to me. Wouldn't be surprised if an ex or two shows up this week to, you know, to let us know they've been thinking about us. If that happens, it's pretty clear that it's not, it's just a repeat of the same. So if you're actually looking to move forward away from that type of relating, the trick is to actually move forward with these swords cards. There's that no more, I'm not doing this anymore. This is over. Let's pull some clarifiers. The interesting part about the Four of Cups on top of the Knight of Wands is that there's this sort of illusory dream that these types of partners represent for those of us who've been in relationships like that. You know, the whole divine counterpart thing, twin flames, stuff like that comes up when you talk about these types of patterns. I think this week might be a reset towards us understanding what real reciprocal relationship looks like and how different that is from this sort of archetype of, you know, I don't know how to say this, so I'll say something different. It feels to me like we're taking something that we've imagined many, many times and bringing it into reality, but it looks totally different than we expected it to. And so there's a stark contrast between the people we used to engage with in relationships and the people that are actually good for us. Bottom of the deck, Ten of Wands, that energy of putting down the burden or letting go of the things that don't actually suit anymore. Okay. See, the interesting part about this is that there's that reflection again. The King of Swords is what allows us, standing up for ourselves, knowing where our boundaries are, making sure that our boundaries are stated and clear is what allows us to open back up when we need to get to that point, when that becomes a really viable option. So these nine of Wands cards for me state very clearly, you have two choices between policing your boundaries and making sure that you are always vigilant, or stating your boundary, walking away from that which does not actually honor who you are, and not having to do that sort of constant policing of your energy. Okay. Justice. Yeah, I feel like over the past 3 or 4 years, we've gone through a pretty intense shift about taking care of ourselves on a personal level. I wouldn't be surprised if those resonating with this reading have been out of a relationship for a long time. If not, it's one of those situations where the relationships around you have been intentionally built for the past few years, mostly because of the type of stress we've all been under. But the Three of Cups, that celebratory factor with justice. So this seems to be a shift that we've been trying to accomplish for a really long time. And to finally leave behind the types of relationships that were damaging to us in the past, we have to actually just admit what we're looking at and leave it behind. Because when you really open up to the truth of what works, it's going to be much easier to stick with it, much easier to stay. 8 of Swords and 8 of Swords. Ooh, what a pull here. 7 of Pentacles. Justice again. There's so much about karmic balance here. I'll say this because this is what I'm getting clearly from all of these cards. There is definitely a rebalancing of karma this week in this reading. I mean, obviously these are daily reads, so this could happen today, but there is definitely a shift from having to be super self-protective to actually getting to relax and open up. There's a shift from relating to people who are really just looking to fulfill their own needs and desires, to finding people who are actually reciprocal in their way of approaching relationships. There is a really beautiful opening up here, but it comes with this sort of clear, concise acceptance of the truth, which is that certain people don't belong in your experience, and you'll know who they are. Obviously, everybody's different, but you'll know how this applies if this applies to you. Please take what resonates and leave the rest, like always. But for me, this is an ending of a cycle of constantly being hypervigilant about self-protection, because you're no longer surrounded by people or surrounding yourself with people who are inherently trying to take from you. Reaping what you sow. Karma's coming around. There is a massive end of a cycle here. Don't be surprised if you hear from somebody with a, oh, I went through something big and it really upset me, it really hurt me, and I finally realized what I did to you or with you, and I'm sorry. I wouldn't be surprised if you get an apology like that. The good part is the Nine of Pentacles for me and the Page of Swords, which is this sort of completion and a new beginning in a way, like finally realizing what you have to offer and what you offer as a person to the people in your life, and then changing your ideas around those things. You see, the page, she's looking at the garden. She's looking at the Nine of Pentacles garden, and she's like, you know, what can I do with this? How can I better honor this? How can I keep this growing? That's the new idea. I love the Nine because she's taken her time to actually like revel in it, but at the same time, she's not ready to be queen. She's not ready to step up. The page is saying, you're going to have to step up into your queenhood at some point. How do you want to do that? And on top of that, that balance. Now, this Page of Rods reversed, that's the only thing that concerns me a little bit. I feel like hesitating to consider your options for too long might keep you from taking action towards what you really want. But one thing at a time. Today, if you come into contact with an experience of like a karmic resolution of past relationships, if you come to a truth about how you relate to others that needs to be worked on, give yourself some credit about how hard you've worked and what you're willing to face. And if you're really one of those people who can come to the truth of how you participated in the relationships you've had, revel in your awareness and your ability to show up, because this energy changes things. I'm really curious what tomorrow will bring, but I'll leave this here. I hope everyone has a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.